It's little jokes, little vignettes that work on the level of
Juvenile comedy. Hi, I'm Kit, and this is Vernon, and we just watched Dead Don't Die. So Vernon, what did we just watch?
we watched an effort at a zombie movie by Jim Jarmusch.
Okay, the basic story is pretty simple. In small town America, small town cops Bill Murray and Adam Driver, and Chloe Sevigny, but she has a much smaller role. Uh, they encounter a zombie outbreak, and that's basically it. And there are a lot of other characters. Tilda Swinton is this weird undertaker, mortician. Yeah.
Steve Buscemi is a racist, hick farmer and Trump supporter. Danny Glover is a repairman or mechanic. Tom Waits is a hermit who basically discovers everything and is sort of...
He's a bit of like the narrator. He bookends the start and end of the movie.
Yeah, he's a passive observer to most of the movie, and yeah,
A commentator, sort of.
sort of a social commentary at that too.
A very weak attempt at social commentary. And they also like radio reports that say that this is a global outbreak. Not that it matters to the story. They could have left that part out and it wouldn't have mattered.
So that's the first sign that things don't actually go on well for this film. Is while being presented as a regional genre comedy / horror comedy, the regional parts of this film and the eccentricities of the characters don't quite gel and don't quite lead anywhere.
I mean, for like 28 days later, you can see the progression from movie to movie, right? At first it's in the UK, then it spreads to France, then it becomes worldwide. So it matters in terms of the story. Whereas in this one, it doesn't. Whether it was a worldwide outbreak or not, we just see the small town. There's no effort to try and contain it or anything. It doesn't matter to the story. So why bring it up?
There are a lot of details in this movie that feel tacked on, that don't work and make it feel very unwieldy.
They're underdeveloped. It's like it's like almost like a Hong Kong movie. They throw in things and they don't develop them.
So basically this is like Jim Jarmusch taking on the Coen brothers if the Coen brothers actually made a zombie horror comedy.
Yeah.
So there's a small town crime which everyone thinks is a small town violent crime, but it's actually zombies. So this film is set somewhere in rural New York State. And if this were a movie by the Coen brothers, we'd get a lot of vignettes of the eccentric townsfolk interacting with one another before the zombie apocalypse happens. And I think we did get that in some form, but not very effectively. We saw Tilda Swinton as the town's new mortician, who seems to be more aware of the zombie apocalypse than anyone else.
Selena Gomez and two of her friends are driving through town in an old Bates Motel style car.
They meet a hardware store owner who sells comics and who is very genre savvy and tells them that about Bates Motel and zombie movies.
And he's supposed to look like Frodo.
Yeah, so we've got supposedly all our checklists for eccentric small town America, except for some reason, after they've been introduced in the first act, and there are a lot more eccentric characters, by the way, that we're not talking about for the moment, their stories kind of go nowhere. There's no punchline to them in the zombie apocalypse section. A strong enough plot punchline.
Yeah, like there are these three friends in a juvenile detention center, and nothing much happens. They just seem to escape, and
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing happens to them. There's No obvious commentary, no obvious payoff, no obvious punchline. And that, I think, is the problem with almost all of the characters in this movie, including the main characters.
The only one where it might have made sense is with Selena Gomez, because her tie-in is obviously with Psycho and the Bates Motel. And one of the innovations of Psycho was Hitchcock killing off Vivien Leigh right at the start of the movie, which was a shock to the audience because they knew she was a big star, so they didn't expect her to die so early on.
Because final girls are meant to be pretty and actually survive.
So the same thing happens to Selena Gomez. She just dies and that's it, with no
And
drama, nothing.
And is killed by a zombified motel owner. Hence, expectations subverted once again. When the Coen brothers do eccentric small town America, they actually cast real life actors from the region and make sure that these actors speak in accent, that the characters they play are written with a small town sensibility. It's not just about random eccentric quirkiness.
Well, for me, my complaint is that there wasn't enough random quirkiness. I mean, you have,
It's too much random quirkiness, and none of it really is regional or small town. This film could have been set anywhere, frankly.
no, I mean they had actors like Steve Buscemi. I mean,
It's a great waste of talent.
yeah, I mean, he was great like in Con Air. I mean, and he was like almost anybody could have done whatever he did here, and like even Tilda Swinton. I mean, she was amazing in Constantine, and she's like, I don't know what she was doing here. Bill Murray and Adam Driver, they did kind of work. They were a bit understated. They were interesting to watch,
Very deadpan comedy from both of them.
which worked more for Adam Driver. I think I still wanted to see the crazy Bill Murray. So it seemed a waste of Bill Murray too.
If I were to put my finger right down the problem, I'd say Jim Jarmusch has a problem writing small town America. He does not understand small town America, does not understand people who live with it, who lived in it at all. And as a way to compensate, he tries to write the characters he introduces get more and more eccentric and irrelevant as the film goes on.
Well, for me, it was more like a lack of storytelling more than the characters.
There's not much story, right? Basically, quirky small town experience a zombie apocalypse and tries very ineptly to fight it off.
I mean, it's not like Jim Jarmusch doesn't know how to tell a story. He's done it before.
But his record is very sporty.
I mean, I loved Ghost Dog, and I didn't even know who Jim Jarmusch was when I watched it. I just switched on the TV and I saw Forrest Whitaker doing this crazy samurai thing in New York, and I was like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
cool.
Forrest Whitaker plays
A hitman.
a tragic protagonist. And it kind of worked because Jim Jarmusch follows the character from concept to predicament to execution,
Yeah, it was very character driven, very strong character.
whereas this film that we just watched, I cannot describe in any way, form or fashion as a character driven movie.
Or even like in Broken Flowers. I mean, okay, Bill Murray was not his typical Bill Murray, but even then it worked. He played this not a very nice person who, from what I remember, he had this like mid-age crisis. He tries to either make up with his exes or tries to locate his teenage son or something.
Actually, both, I think.
So it worked. I mean, you felt something, even though you have this rather unsympathetic character, but you meet
It's a great character study, I think.
somehow you cared for him.
Yeah. For a movie that I recently watched with Jim Jarmusch and I thought worked and was quite a good, well-made film, well-written film, that was Only Lovers Left Alive. It's kind of high concept. It's a vampire film where the vampires are like those from Anne Rice, i.e. they are immeasurably wise
Decadent.
and decadent, and yet the most appreciative of human culture and art,
And almost non-violent.
and almost non-violent. And of course, having what Jim Jarmusch does in this film, at least from what I can see, is that he presents this side of the vampires and then subverts it.
It was very atmospheric. It was almost like a slice of life of vampires, but from a science fiction viewpoint, it's very weak because such old and wise vampires would not have fallen into the difficulty that they faced at the end. That was not believable.
Yeah, but for a film whose gimmick is to present very convincingly one side of the vampire folklore and then to overturn it in the later half of the film, I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, there was a lot of like show don't tell, like Loki was.
Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. Go.
So they show how old and how wise he is through his guitar collection. So that's like really good, sophisticated storytelling.
Yeah, because it's very sophisticated. Because after building up Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton as the wisest of vampires, Jim Jarmusch uses the last third of the film to overturn this impression that he's built up and show them as moral hypocrites, which I thought it worked both in the first part and the second part of the film. That was very well done.
Whereas Dead Don't Die looks like a student film.
It's like coffees and cigarettes. Way too much wannabe art house independent writing and filmmaking.
It's like something Jim Jarmusch might have made when he was 18 years old.
Coffee and Cigarettes was made in the middle of his career, you know.
So I don't know what's going on. It's almost as if Jim Jarmusch is challenging people. Do you dare tell me that this is rubbish?
Well, according to the Metacritic reviews, I mean, some critics are saying this is rubbish.
Which really gave me a lot of confidence, because I've been considering the past few movies we've reviewed. I'm starting to think that the two of us are totally out of step with other people.
No, we are only out of step with the elite movie. We are only out of step with the movie elite who have lost touch with the common people and common sense.
No, I mean we like art house movies. We're not deliberately ragging on the big names just to be controversial, you know.
But we do, when we think it is merited, call out on great directors when they have fallen short. And this is a film which I think has really fallen short.
Bill Murray isn't afraid of anybody. I mean, why didn't he tell Jim Jarmusch, please don't make this movie? He's worked with a lot of these people before, and
For decades.
none of them told him, or none of them realized how bad the script was.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there are great directors who make movies with minimal script or minimal actor understanding of scripts. Big names like Wong Kar-wai, David Lynch, Terrence Malick, all of whom, when you look at the behind the scenes interviews with the actors, realize a few things. One, the actors get the script and they don't know what is happening. Two, the actors get the script and they don't understand the script. And three, actors shoot their scenes and they don't know if those scenes are going to be in the final cut or not. Zombification is either some kind of allegory for mindless consumerism, or zombification is an allegory for socialist groupthink. Either way, but that's as much depth and subtlety that zombie movies as a genre have.
I think that they were trying to push a little consumerism thing here in this movie,
Anti-consumerism, that is.
but it's kind of weak, and it's like, so what? It didn't really say anything insightful about it.
It's only a minor point made in the last 1 minute of the film, so
Oh no,
it
no.
felt a little throwaway, right?
No, I mean the thing about the zombies is that they keep on repeating like what was important to them when they were alive. So like you had some zombies wandering around their phones looking for Wi-Fi, which was like, okay, it's kind of cute.
Some of them said YouTube,
But
it's little jokes, little vignettes that work on the level of
juvenile comedy.
or sketch comedy on Saturday Night Live, you know.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-minute skit, but if I were to be very charitable, Jim Jarmusch has maybe about 4 to 5 good 5-minute skits in this movie, but it doesn't actually justify the length of this movie at all.
Yeah, it felt like this typical Singaporean movie, which is more a collection of skits than a real story. Skits are like unrelated. You've got just a few minutes, they crack a joke and that's it. And then you move on to the next skit, which is unrelated to the previous skit. There's no character arc, there's no theme, there's no like setup and payoff, there's no foreshadowing.
There are some attempts at parodying such concepts like foreshadowing. For example, Adam Driver's character has this ominous line which he utters throughout the film. Can you remember what he said?
This is not going to end well.
Yes, it's sort of said in that half serious, half parodying manner, but actually that's all there is to it. There's no punchline to this half here, half there, neither here, neither there type of comedy or black comedy.
It's almost like breaking the fourth wall, but in this case, it's about being self-aware that this is a movie. But
I don't know. This reminds me of all the worst faults from Coffee and Cigarettes.
it's just about a group of people talking at night in a diner, isn't it?
Yes, that's the one. Or in the daytime as well.
So that's it. They're just sitting there and talking.
Yeah, that's the one.
Practical advice to fix the movie. Have fewer characters. There were just so many characters that you can't really remember some of them sometimes, and there's not time to really develop them fully, even though Adam Driver and Bill Murray do form the main characters and
Get most of the screen time.
yeah, so they were effective in that sense.
Or they were the most effective characters in this film, which really isn't saying much.
Whereas the other Jim Jarmusch movies that I like, they didn't have so many characters. So it's like chicken and egg, right? It's like, was the movie bad because there are too many characters? Or did Jim Jarmusch put in so many characters because he didn't have a story, so he was just trying to pad out the runtime with more characters?
I think it could be the second. That seems to be Jim Jarmusch's style or weakness. think the few movies that we both liked from Jim Jarmusch had a very small cast of characters. Practical advice from me to Jim Jarmusch: maybe write characters, choose a setting that you know best.
And have something to say.
Yeah, because clearly he doesn't know small town America. He's trying to do a Coen Brothers regional eccentrics movie without knowing what actual regional eccentrics look, sound, or think like.
Or without even having a viewpoint on such a community's strengths or weaknesses.
Which I think that's the main thing, isn't it? For a small town in America that's supposedly eccentric and unique, we didn't see any eccentric or unique take on the zombie genre at all.
Like, how about strength of community, right? Everybody knows each other, but maybe they also get into each other's hair, maybe they bicker a lot, but none of this was really shown or explored in the movie.
World's End, the one with Simon Pegg,
Which is not really about zombies.
yeah, but it was a regional small town
Okay.
setting, and I think it really explored what it means to be from a small town.
Yeah, so we didn't really like the movie.
It had a few good moments that elicited a few good laughs and not a few groans, but too few and far in between for me.
We're not trying to be iconoclasts or anything. We are just here as movie buffs.
Whose opinions are not out of the ordinary.
Yeah, so Jim, if you happen to see us, don't hate us. Don't beat us up. We're just here as fellow movie lovers.
This film kind of reminds us what the strength of Jim Jarmusch is and why this movie isn't a great movie.
I would disagree. This did not feel like a Jim Jarmusch movie to me at all.
Because it did not play to his strengths at all for some reason.
So yeah, anyway, that's all we got.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.